February is Love Month, and we're focusing on self-love and self-care. And today we have a very special guest who's going to talk to us about a way that we can do that using chair yoga. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us on The Wrinkle. If you haven't watched before, I'm Dr. Nicole Diddick, a board-certified internist and geriatrician. Here on The Wrinkle, we help you to make key connections so that you can age fearlessly. When we're compassionate to ourselves, we can bring our best to those in our lives who may also need care and attention. For many, exercise and spiritual practice can be a form of self-care, and yoga is something that ticks both of those boxes. Chair yoga includes physical poses, breathing, relaxation, and meditation using a chair for support or balance. Chair yoga has been shown through scientific evidence to improve pain levels in those with osteoarthritis and to improve balance and walking in those with Alzheimer's disease. Having done a few classes myself, I can tell you it feels wonderful. So today I'm so excited to bring you an interview with chair yoga instructor, Mary Zadel. Mary is a registered yoga teacher, RYT 200, Hatha style. And in addition, she's a certified chair yoga instructor. Mary is a graduate of the Ageless Arts Yoga School in Paris, Ontario, and she teaches yoga at her local YMCA and Community Health Center and has been teaching it online since the pandemic. So Mary, I know you're passionate about chair yoga and about just staying active as we age. So welcome.
Thank you. It's wonderful to be here. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to your audience about yoga and especially about chair yoga.
Yeah. So tell me about your journey to becoming a chair yoga instructor.
Well, I knew when I was about to retire that I needed to reinvent myself. And I became a certified fitness instructor because I was a runner and I love cycling. I started out by teaching spin classes at the Y. And as time went on, and then I did retire and I started doing more and more volunteer work and teaching more spin classes, I thought I needed something to counterbalance the heavy exertion of spin classes. I'd always been interested in yoga since the late 60s. And although I had never taken any formal training, I thought, okay, I think I better do the registered yoga teacher training. And I did that in Paris at Ageless Arts Yoga. And as part of, it was not part of my plan, but part of the training I did also certified me as a chair yoga teacher and a therapeutic chair yoga teacher. So it was sort of like a bonus that I got the chair yoga in with the teacher training.
Wow. So you're a chair yoga instructor and also therapeutic chair yoga instructor. So what are what's the difference between chair yoga and just plain old yoga?
Well, chair yoga, it's got mostly the same benefits, but what it doesn't require you to do is get up and down from the floor. Like in traditional yoga, you're on the mat, you're reclined, you're, turning over sideways and then up and down. And that becomes more difficult as we age. And certainly I know with having been a runner, I have some issues with my knees. So I know that it's more beneficial and much easier to be able to do the same kind of stretches, breathing and relaxation on the chair. And I thought it was appealing to, a certain group of people who, like me, maybe had some flexibility issues. And then when the pandemic came, it just seemed like, wow, there are a lot of people isolated at home. I think that the chair yoga just might be the thing that fits for a lot of people.
Okay, yeah, no, I think you're right about that for sure. So what do you need to do chair yoga though? Like, is it complicated and does it need a special equipment?
No, well, not really. I mean, you could almost do it in any type of attire that you've
Hmm.
got on, as long as you've got some ability to stretch through the waist and so on. So you don't need a special outfit. And in fact, there are a lot of chair yoga classes or interludes going on in offices, where office people will take 15 minutes out on their office chair and do the yoga. So really all
Hmm.
you need is to maybe be able to loosen your outfit, a chair, preferably without wheels and arms, so you have a little bit more room around it. And
Hmm.
you want the chair to be stabilized, because we also like not only just sit on the chair to do the poses, but there are standing poses which are good for the bone density, and
Mm-hmm.
the balancing poses, which it's wonderful in chair yoga, because some of the more difficult yoga poses, balancing wise, you can do with the chair, because you can keep one or two fingers on the back of the chair and just get into dancer pose or whatever. So it
Mm-hmm.
does open up a lot of other parts of yoga.
Yeah. And one thing I would say, that when having done those classes, like, so I have my chair there and I try to do the balance pose without holding on to the chair, but sometimes I do reach for it.
Mhm.
And I mean, is that sort of like a fail if I have to reach for the chair? Or because I always feel like, oh, why do I need that chair there? So tell me
Yeah.
how that works.
Well, I even in traditional yoga classes, when we're doing poses, eagle or tree or any of those, I always say to the class, going in and out of the pose has as much value as just holding the pose,
Oh,
because
good.
it is a practice. We're trying to train our brain to be a little bit better with the balancing. So going into the pose, holding it for a second or two, going out, reestablishing again, and balancing. So I say, don't be embarrassed about reaching or holding the chair. If you
Hmm.
feel like you need one hand on the chair today, keep one hand on the chair. Let's just move our other arm up. And so,
I've heard you say things like that in the class, and it's very reassuring. Like, you are very, very gentle and encouraging. And I have noticed you say that, and that's kind of nice. Your compassion comes across, and it makes me want to be kinder to myself when I do it. So yeah, like, what happens? You've mentioned a few things. You've mentioned that there's balance poses and things like that. But so what's a typical class like? Like, does it have phases?
yes, very, very similar. If any of your viewers have done traditional yoga, I try to do my chair yoga in a very similar pattern, so that we start out the first 3 to 5 minutes of the class, which is called the grounding and centering, and you sit quietly with your hands on your thighs and just a nice relaxed body. Allow the eyes to close down, and you focus on your breath. And that way you
Mm,
reduce all the external distractions and
okay.
allow yourself to get into the breathing. So
Mm,
that brings about that relaxation response, and we deepen our breath. We may even do some very gentle movement of the arm up on the inhale, down on the exhale.
okay.
So after we've got ourselves all nice and grounded and feeling relaxed, I
Mhm.
move on into what are called the warm-ups. We warm up the neck, we warm up the shoulders and the legs, and flare our fingers, do all sorts of little warm-up things.
Mhm.
And then we might move on into doing some twists and getting a little bit more of the body involved, and the abs, working really to have
Mhm.
strong abs, because strong abs mean a strong back.
Yes,
So
that's true.
I come up to the standing part of the class. So we stand maybe in front of our chair, beside it, or behind, and we do a series of standing flows, and they could be, just standing mountain pose, where we stand strong and root our feet down into the floor, or it
Mhm.
may be some flowing of arms or our legs. We put our hands onto the chair seat, and we can simulate like a tabletop pose.
Hmm.
Do bird dog, where we are, elongating our limbs. So And then we get into I always have a balance pose in every class. And then we get back onto the chair, do a few more little stretches and opening our chest and our shoulders. And then we start getting into more calming and the pre-Shavasana. And Shavasana is the last part of the class. It means corpse pose. And in a traditional yoga class, you would be reclined. And I do invite the viewers in my class to recline if that's their style of yoga. And otherwise, we do our Shavasana on the chair. And again, it's the softening of the eyes, focusing on the breath, because you surrender to the breath and you just allow these long, deep inhales and exhales, signaling your brain to allow the body to relax. And all of those poses and stretches that you've done can then take effect on your body. And then I always end my class with a progressive body relaxation where we go through right from the tip of the toes up to the crown of the head, releasing. And that's almost a meditative part of the class. And then we take a few more long breaths, and we always end with the namaste. And so it's identical to a traditional yoga class.
Yeah, very similar, isn't it? I love that meditation part at the end, I have to say. It's one of my favorites because you're left with that wonderful feeling, of peace and relaxation afterwards. But now, would you say that a lot of people would I think there are misconceptions about chair yoga out there. So some people think that it's just for, people who can't get out of a chair at all. And then other people might think it's too hard for them. So tell me, what are some of the misconceptions that you hear about chair yoga, Mary?
Right. And I had misconceptions of my own about it, even prior to my training, because I thought it would be too easy and really wouldn't be giving me much in the way of stretching or posture or strengthening. Or the balancing. I was thinking, and there is a form of chair yoga that would be done in a nursing home, and certainly a different group of people. And at some point in my life, I will be doing that type of chair yoga. But so it's the perception that it's not as difficult, that it's for old people. And I can tell you, there are young people who do it, especially when they've had an injury and they cannot do the traditional. So as a temporary measure, they might do the chair yoga. The benefits are very much the same. And I think that's the misconception, is that you don't get the same thing out of it. I try especially always having those standing poses, the bone density, the ones that are stimulating our weight bearing and so on. Focus on all of those, because being my age, I have all of the things that others have: osteoporosis, osteoarthritis. So I work with those, and I see the benefits that it has for me and for my husband. I mean, this is such a win-win. It's wonderful.
So what do you think makes it a good fit? So it's not just for older adults, but why do you think it's particularly good for older adults?
Well, I think it's good for older adults, as I said, because our bodies do start to change, and some have had joint replacements. Some have some serious injuries. Maybe they have been runners or some type of sports player. And so they do have some flexibility limitations, which prevent them from going up and down from the mat on the floor. So I really think that it does open up the possibility, even if you have flexibility. It's also good for all body types. So it doesn't matter, you're, more of a round body, shorter stature, whatever it may be. It really is accessible and open to everyone, even children. I mean, they are saying that it's great for getting kids to be attentive because you have them on the chair. And that way you can focus them.
That's true.
Wonderful benefits all around.
They're not going to be running all over the mat.
So all ages, all fitness levels, all body shapes.
Yeah, sounds wonderful. But what's it like doing it online? So you were previously doing classes in person, I guess. And so moving it online, what was that like?
It was really different. That was something
Yeah.
I did not foresee at all in my
Mm-hmm.
future, because at my age, I grew up using pencils and erasers and not video cameras or phones or computers. And so the opportunity came up, and I knew that there was a group of people who were isolated at home, who were not
Mm-hmm.
getting out and feeling lonely. And
Mm-hmm.
I knew a lot of them from either my interaction at the community health center or from the Y, or just from friends. And so Tracy said, what do you think about doing a class on Zoom? Are you comfortable with it? And I said, well, let's see how it goes. And,
This will be over soon. We don't need to go be that drastic, right? Here we are.
anyway, it has been going on without missing a beat
Wow.
every Wednesday. And I have more and more people who are joining in. Because we're in winter. Who wants to put on their big boots and coat?
Yeah.
You can't go anywhere anyway.
Yeah.
You know, driving, parking a car, it makes it very convenient. I actually think that it's a continuing thing.
Oh, good.
I really do. Yes.
Yeah, I hope so, because you're right. It is so accessible. And you could have people all over the country, all over the world doing it, right? Like, really, if you have an internet connection and a camera, you could really do this from anywhere, which is so nice.
The wonderful thing about Ageless Arts Yoga is Tracy, being a younger woman, she has all that technology savvy. And we've had folks with their iPads or tablets or phones that have had issues hooking up to Zoom. Well, there she is at the ready. She gets them all sorted out, and week after week, they join in with success.
Yeah. No, that's really good. And that's, and older adults are able to use technology. Like, really, the data is that, 70% of them use some kind of technology every day. So that's from smartphones to all kinds of things. And I know I moved my practice online too, and so I'm seeing people online, and they're, people in their 90s are getting on their tablets and connecting with me. So that's awesome. Like, I know that people can do it. But the great thing about that too is that you've built a really nice community of chair yogis. And I know you've mentioned that it called them chair yogis, which I love. That's such a beautiful term. And so that must be a nice thing. Tell me a little bit about what that's been like.
Well, the beauty is that we can invite people to come on 15 minutes before the class, and we open the lines. They can visit. They see their friends on the screen and say, "Oh, hi, Donna." Hi, So they're seeing other friends. They're seeing other people. They're not feeling as isolated. And then after the class, we do the same. We say, if you can stay on the line and visit, maybe you've got a comment to make about the class, or you've got a question about a pose that we did. And that opens up so much more discussion, because someone will say, oh, well, my wrist was, bothering me a bit. Is there another way I could do that? We introduce other topics because of comments that come from the participants. So
yeah.
And it feels like we are a community. We're all smiling there, seeing one another. It's every Wednesday, and sort of we've carved that time out on our calendars. And
so it is. It's beautiful. Have you heard from people about what they're getting out of doing chair yoga and that? Like, what are you hearing from people that are the benefits they're getting?
Well, they feel better, and they feel connected to some group. And they're doing things that they haven't done for quite a while, some of them with maybe some of the opening stretches, or getting more strength in their legs, or using their abs. Like, I've had some of them say, oh, I felt a little bit stiff after doing the class, as you would when you go and do something new.
Yeah.
But they like it. That's like, it's a good feeling. And they come back, and every week it's a different class. So I have a different balance pose, different parts of the body that we focus on. So we're trying to just keep the whole body going and being flexible and relaxed.
That's the beauty of it too, that you can sort of build on. If you're coming back week after week, you can work on different things every time and kind of progress. Or maybe you can do the same pose that you did 2 weeks ago and now it's a little easier or it's a little different for whatever reason. So that's really exciting. Yeah. And I know in some of the studies that I was reading about the benefits of chair yoga, they sort of had people do a class for between 8 to 10 weeks in a row. You know, like one of the studies I looked at for osteoarthritis, they had people do the class for 8 weeks and they did find there was a reduction in pain, you know, and there was more well-being. Like, that's so exciting.
Yeah. If I am ever for some reason paused on doing my yoga for a few days, I can certainly feel the stiffness come back into my knees.
Yeah.
And so really, I think it's the continual doing the soft, gentle movements and this whole breathing, this transformation part.
The integration.
Learning together, transforming yourself in becoming more relaxed, mentally calm. So,
do you do? Yeah. Do you do yoga every day?
I do.
Okay. So what time, when do you do it? Like, what's your routine?
It varies.
Okay.
I have a fairly busy life because I like to be active and outdoors. I hike
great.
at least 4 or 5 times a week. And so
Wow.
I'm outdoors. So it depends on, is it a hiking day or not?
Okay.
And maybe I do my yoga late in the afternoon, or maybe I'm going to be doing it after dinner. So it just depends on the day. I know that I'm going to do it. And I say to my husband, when should we do our yoga today? So we agree.
Good.
We always do it together.
Oh, good.
Extremely supportive of a retirement journey with the fitness instructor and now the yoga. He's been very, very supportive and helpful.
Oh, that's wonderful. So it's something you could do with someone else and build that relationship, right?
Exactly. And it's not just for women either. That might be the misconception. We've got men in the class.
Yeah, I noticed that.
They have the same needs, you know,
with
flexibility and connection.
Yeah. So Mary, when you said when you retired, you wanted to transform yourself, do you feel like you've been successful in doing that? Reinventing yourself?
It's been unbelievable. It took me a long time to decide to retire. I loved my work.
So what was your work again? Tell us again.
I managed a chain of medical labs.
Oh boy.
That were actually bought out by Life Labs.
Okay.
So it was a wonderful career, but it was very intense. It was heavy duty work. But I did love it. And you almost get hooked on that adrenaline, you know, making things happen. And I thought, oh boy, what's it going to be like when I retire? And if I don't have the same type of, things coming through to me. So that's why I thought the fitness instructor was good. And it's, as I said before, win-win. This is me doing it. This is me giving back to others in some way and having people feel better about themselves.
Oh yeah. And being an example too, because so when did you start this class? Like it's not a simple thing to become an instructor, right? What's that process like?
Well, as soon as I took my yoga teacher training, I immediately started teaching the traditional yoga on the mat. And that's because I was already a volunteer at the Y. So, and, you know, yoga teachers are always in need of another yoga teacher. And I had that brand of yoga, which is more of a gentle, slow moving, flowing type of yoga.
Okay.
So, and that seemed to fit in with what they needed at the Y. They call their program at the Y Move Together Yoga because it is a form of yoga that encompasses everyone with all, you know, possible different accessibility issues.
Oh, good.
So it's soft, gentle, and of course, I always give the cautions to people because we're each the experts of our own body. We know our conditions and ailments and what we're under treatment for. And I don't want anyone to ever feel that they need to do a pose or even do it exactly the way I'm showing it. Because everyone's got a different body and different proportions, and you can injure yourself by overstretching or something like that. So it's important that you take the cautions as well.
Yeah, no, that's true. But I like that inclusivity of yoga, like that it is, you can do it from where you are right now, right? You're whatever age, whatever stage, whatever, you know, sort of thing that's hurting today, you can still do it. It's amazing.
Another benefit of the online is that you are doing it at home in the privacy of your own home. So you don't have to worry about comparing to someone else who's maybe beside you there at the yoga studio.
Yes.
And so, because when we do it online, I'm the only picture that the participants would see. They're not seeing everyone else doing it.
That's right.
Me, and they know how they're doing it just by how they feel within their body.
That's kind of an anti-yoga thing, isn't it? Because I know you're right. I've done that too. I always compare, I sort of look around and see if that person's bending deeper than I am or holding the pose longer. That's not what yoga should be, right? It should be about our own practice.
It is. That's true.
So we need you to remind us of that. Now, do you find, I mean, the one thing I do love is the meditative part, the relaxation, the breathing focus. How do you find that that goes with the participants? Like, are people open to that, or do some people have a resistance to that part of it?
I think it's those who have done yoga before seem to make that transition, because the other misconception about yoga is that it's just a stretching class. Well, that's where it's wrong, because it's not just stretching, it is the marrying together of the breathing with this poses. Yoga, as we know it in the Western world, is really about the stretches or the poses. We don't know all of the other aspects, and this is where I became very enlightened with my teacher training. There's what we call the 8 limbs of yoga, and the poses are only one of the limbs. Breathing is another one of the limbs, and then there are other ones, which are meditation and disciplines and moral practices. So there's much, much more to yoga than what we know here in the Western world. It is a whole study of a behavior. It's a wonderful thing.
Yes. Oh, wow. I would love to learn more about that. Yeah, that's really interesting. And because, yeah, you're right. I sort of think of it as breathing, relaxation, a little bit of meditation, and the poses. But it sounds like that's only half the story, if even.
Yeah, and so to go back to your question, some folks do have more difficulty in coming inward and focusing on the breath, and then working to do the breathing with the pose. And until they reach that point, I don't think they get the 100% out of it. So and I find for some reason, men seem to have a little bit more difficulty with that surrendering to the breath, enjoying it, and letting go on the exhale, just releasing, letting go of everything. Because, for the hour of the class, there's nothing else you need to think about.
Yeah, it is so lovely. It's like a little oasis, it really is. And exercise is one of those amazing things. Like you say, there's so many different ways of doing it. There is things like hiking. You can do it outdoors, you can do it in a gym, you can do it alone. But yoga kind of integrates so many pieces that are of value and benefit to the body, right?
It is a very community feeling type of thing, even doing it online, because the other people are there live, and your instructor is there live. You're not just watching, another video over and over again. You get to ask some questions or comment, ask for something in particular that you have going on with your body and say, well, do
Yeah.
you have anything particular for, you know, my shoulders or my
Mm-hmm.
wrists or my feet? Or,
Yeah.
you know.
I really liked the last class that I did with you, and we did some of that stretching and opening of our shoulders, and that was so good. And I find myself sometimes, like you say, just sitting here in this chair, I sometimes do some of those moves, you know, that you did. And I don't know, is it okay to do that without the full warm up, like to just gently do a few of those stretches? Do you think? Not stretches, poses.
Yeah. No, no, don't worry. I'm not all that hypersensitive about that.
Oh, good.
I mean, just like an executive in an office would do. You know, they'd say, hey, like I just finished a very intense meeting. I feel real stress here.
Yeah.
Take, you know, do a few breaths, maybe 3 or 4 long breaths, and then start to open your chest and maybe do these cat-cow flows. It's just an upper body, opening up the chest, shoulders are back, and then rounding and arching up. So the spine, working the spine in one direction and then the other direction.
I'm going to do a few of those right now.
Couple twists of the torso. You know, take 10 if you have a 15-minute coffee break from your office. Close your door and maybe do a few of these yoga.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah. And that's what my daughter says, Mom, can you write me up and do a little Zoom recording for me?
Yes, yes. You know what? And then after a while, after you've done them, you've kind of got them in your repertoire, right? And you can draw on them like, oh, my neck, you know, is tense so that I can do that or whatever, or your legs feel tight or your, you know, bottom has gone numb. You can do a little few moves, kind of have that as a tool that you can lean on.
And then you can practice at home. I mean, if you're doing a yoga balance pose and you see you're not very good at it, well, just you're standing at your kitchen counter. Maybe you're going to try doing a tree pose or a stork pose or whatever. Just try it out, you know, and just get your body to feel the balance on one leg. And so,
yeah. I love how you talk about the feet too in the class. I know I often go back to my feet like that because it's true. We keep our feet kind of scrunched or, you know, hunched up or twisted. And so you've mentioned the feet. Do that little bit for us now. So say that our listeners are there and most of them have feet. And now we're going to get our feet kind of grounded.
Yeah, so the one that I'm doing in today's class, we're actually going to be flaring our fingers and our toes because we do it barefoot.
Okay.
So we're inhaling and flaring the fingers and toes, and then exhale, squeeze into fist and squeeze your toes, and then inhale, open, big breath in, and then exhale, squeeze into fist, squeeze the toes. And you do that 4 or 5 times. It really opens up your hands and exercises your feet. We don't often flare our toes and lift.
No.
So that's why I say I do recommend the yoga in bare feet because we do a lot with our feet. In my classes, sometimes we massage the feet, flaring the toes, or we're doing circles with our ankles. So having the shoes on would impede that for sure.
That's true. So slip those shoes off.
Right.
You can do some of it with socks as long as you don't need to worry about slipping.
Yeah,
you know, your socks should allow you to move your toes around.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's wonderful, Mary. Well, you know, I have to change my clinic around so I can join you in your class because it is amazing. And I think you're amazing. I mean, to go on this journey of reinventing and, you know, launching into yoga and not just doing it, but becoming an instructor, building this community of active adults, most of them are in an older age group. That's amazing. And then to pivot during the pandemic to take it all online, that's remarkable.
It's wonderful. I just somehow feel I'm being carried along and into the right place at the right time to do what is necessary. And I love it. And I just love it. It benefits me and it benefits all of those that I can be in contact with. And I'd like more people to be aware of yoga and accessible yoga, which is chair yoga, and to know that even though you are maybe an active adult, doing the chair yoga still has benefits. And, you know, possibly you are a caregiver, you do need a little bit of downtime, a little bit of time to unwind and relax, deep breathing. So,
yeah.
and I do know one of the participants in the class, her husband, he's at home, he does have dementia, but she's able to do the chair yoga and he's there participating to some degree, but she's able to connect with the rest of the chair yoga community and get her full class. And she ends up having that relaxing hour, even though she is at home being a caregiver.
Yeah, that's what I think we have to look for, right? Is it's most of us don't have those large chunks of time to focus on caring and loving ourselves. But if we can get an hour here or an hour there, that can do so much. It can do so much to just recharge us and keep us going on doing what we need to do to look after others. Yeah.
I'm planning to do some smaller, shorter recordings, which are more focused.
Oh, good.
As you say, not everyone has a full hour. And so I'm just working on some of those things now. Some pre-bed chair yoga, and also some for the office worker, like a 15-minute office break.
Oh my gosh.
Getting hunched over a computer or over a steering wheel or whatever at the time.
Yeah. Oh, those would be gold. Yeah. Well, so where will you, when you have those, would those be on the Ageless Arts website, or how will we access those?
They possibly will be with Ageless Art, but I'm like you, I'm hoping to have my own YouTube channel. So people can go there and pick out the one they like. So
oh, good.
A certain day you're feeling like you need to do a shoulder and chest opener, or you need to work on your abs, you'll be able to pick out some different gentle chair yoga.
Okay.
With Mary.
Well, Mary, we're going to have you back on the Wrinkle because, you know, I think that our audience would be very interested in that. So let's keep this beautiful partnership going. That's exciting.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, well, no, I just want to thank you for coming on today and talking about chair yoga. And I know there's so much more that we could talk about because I know it's something you're so passionate about and you deliver it so wonderfully. So I'm going to thank you and give you an invitation to come back and we'll do something else.
Thank you.
Maybe we'll do a little one of those sessions together and learn a little bit more about you and about chair yoga. Well,
it was my pleasure to be here. It has been a wonderful gift to have met you.
Oh, thank you.
I really appreciate the opportunity to reach more people and to spread the good word about yoga and chair yoga.
Oh, thank you, Mary. I'm so glad I met you as well for so many reasons. Yeah. Excellent. All right. Well, have a good class this afternoon and say hello to all the yogis for me.
I will do.
Give them my best.
Thanks, Nicole.
All right.
Again sometime.
Bye for now.
Bye-bye.